25 years ago, photographer Pogus Caesar was working in the Handworth district of Birmingham when he found himself at the heart of some of Britain's worst inner city riots. The images he captured were extraordinary, but they lay hidden for 2 decades. So why did Pogus refuse to publish them? And how does he see Handworth now?
It was some of the worst urban rioting Britain had ever seen. 25 years ago, Handworth became a battleground. There were violent clashes. Shops were looted, buildings set on fire. 2 people were killed.
Utter chaos and devastation. Many people in this area simply don't know which way to turn for safety.
It was dangerous, and the media struggled to get to the heart of the story. Instead, some of the most revealing images were captured by a local photographer.
When the pictures from the Handworth riots came to life, I was very happy with what I had taken. I mean, I think, about showing a record of, those a few days in September 1985 was a really important way of showing not only the community, but also the wider public at large, what we were kind of witnessing at that particular time.
Photographer Pogus Caesar was working in Handworth. As soon as he heard a riot had broken out, he headed straight for it, camera in hand. When he got there, the scene was total chaos.
When I got up here, the first thing that really hit me was the choking smoke. There were bottles flying everywhere, there were stones, there were flames, there were cars being overturned, there were black people, there were Asian people, there were white people. A lot of people saw themselves in crisis. So what I tried to do was to get my camera and just try and shoot all the time. You're trying to dodge stones, you're trying to dodge bricks, you're running with the people, you're trying to regroup. And again, the police couldn't differentiate from who you were. So it was a really terrible situation for me, but I just kept shooting away and just firing away, just snapping.
And what Pogus captured was a unique perspective.
Right at this spot is where I took this photograph here. You can see the policemen are getting ready to be charged by some of the guys. The look of fear on this policeman's face is just, it's just one of the things which really strikes me about this photograph. It was a terrifying situation for them because they were totally unprepared.
But why? Handworth was a vibrant and colourful mix of cultures, popular with immigrants from the West Indies since the 50s, and then new arrivals from the Indian subcontinent also chose to make it their home throughout the 60s. By the 70s, it was a melting pot of nationalities.
Well, Handworth for me, back in the days, back in the 70s, man, it was going to like blues parties, listening to the new Bob Marley's, new Burning Spears. It was a rainbow village. It was warm, it was vibrant, a very thriving community. A beautiful place to be.
But immigration had also brought tension, and far-right groups like the National Front started to move in. Young black people felt they were a race apart.
The white people keep in their area and we keep in ours. We don't go in their territory and they don't usually come in our territory. So that's the way it works out, really.
Is that the way you want it?
Well, not really. Well, I can't extend my hand over the fence between us. It's got to be them.
Deprivation only added to the frustrations. By the 1980s, unemployment in Handworth was rife, especially amongst the black youth.
I'm out of work for some time now. I find it very difficult to find a job. In my opinion, I think a lot of it is strictly because I'm black. Maybe it's not so, but this is my personal opinion.
And the frustration felt by Handworth's black community wasn't helped by uneasy relations with the police. Allegations of harassment were commonplace.
In the police force, you get good policemen and bad policemen. And as the majority of the police are white, they might not like black people, you know what I mean? And as they're hearing about, like, say, they're always hearing about, say, black youths mugging old women and all that. So that sort of brings up prejudice against us.
And that perception of prejudice came to a head as the long, hot summer of 1985 drew to a close. On the 9th of September, there was a confrontation between a policeman and a motorist. A crowd formed, and the situation spiralled rapidly out of control.
The rioters set Handworth ablaze last night, burning shops, warehouses, the homes of their own community.
Handworth descended into chaos. Journalists rushed to cover the story, but it was difficult to get close.
It's a very, very dangerous situation because people don't trust the media. In these places like this, people don't trust the media. You know, you come in, you extract the information that you want, and then, you know, you take it out and you sensationalize it. So what do people expect?
As Pogus watched, one TV news car was set upon by the rioters.
Here's a central television news car that got turned over. They ripped open the grille, took the camera out, and from nowhere a bath came smashing into it. And I think once they realized that the camera was of no use, they kind of smashed it up.
But Pogus had an advantage. He was local, and he knew many of the rioters. He was able to get the shots that no other journalist could.
It was somebody that I'd known, you know, as a young guy growing up. Obviously, I knew what he was up to, and he just didn't want to be identified. So he said I could take the photograph of him as long as I didn't show his face. These are one of the things when you grow up in a community and you get to know the people, and they have that kind of trust with you. And they knew full well, as with this guy, is that I wouldn't show any negative images of what was going on in the day.
They were powerful pictures, and the national newspapers wanted to buy them, but Pogus refused.
You know, you pass over your images to a newspaper, and they have to sensationalize it. They have to sell newspapers, and I would have had to had lived with that, and it's not something that I would have been proud of. You know, maybe looking back now, you know, people say, well, you know, it might have been your chance for fame or your chance for glory, or you would have been known as the photographer who did this or that, but at the time, I had no interest.
And Pogus was so worried that he destroyed some of the negatives. As for the rest, well, he didn't show them to anyone for over 20 years. Today, Pogus is back in Handworth. Although it's now a very different place, it remains a deprived community with many problems. So does Pogus think it's managed to put the past behind it?
It's a resilient community. It's a community that's getting better. And for, you know, when I talk to people who live here, you know, they're trying to heal a lot of the old wounds. Those scars of 85 will never ever heal completely. But, you know, people of Handworth are strong, they're resilient. The candles are burning slowly, but the flame is bright.
And you can let us know your thoughts about any of the stories on tonight's programme. Just go to our website, bbc.co.uk/insideout.